What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here, and welcome to our daily show where we discuss the fourth stimulus check updates, the two new upcoming packages, as well as what is going on in the world today. The Colonial Pipeline gas pipeline has now resumed normal operations. However, they're still saying it's going to take days or even weeks to get all of the affected areas back up to 100% of their normal operating fuel levels, as basically there's over 10 different states that are facing fuel shortages, and it's going to take time to get fuel to all these different states. New information's come out that apparently the ransom that was paid to the hacker group, almost $5 million, was paid in Bitcoin. 75 Bitcoin was paid. Bitcoin's around $50,000 for one Bitcoin. So it was around $5 million that was sent to the hackers, and basically is now untraceable because Bitcoin is basically untraceable currency called cryptocurrency. So yeah, and here's the thing: is that the hackers have already hacked three more companies, not gas companies, but one company in the United States, one in Brazil, and one in Scotland. And what's going to prevent them from doing this again and again and again and again? So hopefully they have somehow traced this group, which is expected to be in Russia, and hopefully we get some type of retribution or at least prevent it from happening again. Because honestly, if we keep paying these guys, what's going to prevent that group and new groups to basically start doing this over and over and over? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. President Biden had another meeting with a bipartisan group of Democratic and Republican senators, speaking about the details of the next physical infrastructure package, which is known as the American Jobs Plan, and will create millions of jobs for this country, as well as the next stimulus package known as the American Families Plan.
What we're doing is, at the request, mutual request of us getting together, getting leading Republicans in the Senate together to see if we can work out something on a compromise on infrastructure. And I know they're sincere about it, and so am I. And what we're going to try to do is figure out what we can agree constitutes infrastructure from each of our perspectives, and then see whether or not we're in a position that how much we want to fund it above the baseline. The baseline meaning what we spent last year, and then talk about how to proceed from there. But I assure you, I know some of the this is in good faith. It's a genuine effort. I think we can get there, and I'm hoping that just in case, I brought along two of the secretaries who are smarter than I am, so they can answer the really tough questions. But all kidding aside, I'm looking forward to this meeting, and I want to thank you all for coming in, and we appreciate you being here, so thank you for being here.
Now, it does look like there's a very real possibility of getting the physical infrastructure package, the American Jobs Plan, passed with bipartisan support, which means Republican and Democrat support, where they will not have to use a reconciliation card to pass that package. The next stimulus package, the American Families Plan, of which we have almost 100 different Democratic lawmakers pushing for a fourth stimulus check and a monthly recurring stimulus check in there. There's about 15 different stimulus provisions that are on the table, which will make up that bill. There could be 7 of them included, or 10 of them, or 12 of them when all is said and done. There's about 15 different ones that they're currently negotiating on and figuring out how much they want to spend and what needs to be in this next package, including a fourth stimulus check, Social Security raise. We've had 3 different Social Security proposals, including a raise directly from President Biden's proposal that would increase all Social Security beneficiaries to a minimum monthly payment of $1,341 per month. We also have proposed increases to Medicare, which would include free dental, vision, hearing, as well as free hearing aids, and would lower the eligibility age to as low as age 60 or age 55. There's also 2 years of free college, 2 years of free preschool proposed in this next package. 2 years of free college will be an absolute major game changer for this next package. There'll probably be a income threshold on it, probably something similar to the third stimulus check. But basically, when they pass that, you or anybody you know that makes below the income threshold that they'll set, again, probably $75 to $100,000 per person, possibly more, will be eligible for 2 years of free college. So that will completely change the game for college. As you know, college, the average college is like over $25,000 a year right now. So you can easily come out of a 4 year college with over $100,000 in debt. I think that we could see something happen, which is similar to the child tax credits, where the Democrats passed the third stimulus check package completely on their own with the reconciliation process, the good old reconciliation card. That's the card that says you can pass a bill in the Senate with only 50 or 51 votes. And that means the Democrats can do that completely on their own. Right now, I'd say it's about a 50-50 chance that they can pass the physical infrastructure package with Republican support. We actually seen both House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell from the Republicans both say after their meeting, I actually showed you guys the interviews on this channel, that they both thought that a deal can be made on the physical infrastructure package, which means they can pass it faster. It'll have to be a smaller bill. My guess is somewhere around $1 trillion. But here's the kind of catch: is that the Republicans, I actually read an interesting kind of opinion piece on this a little bit, but it was very interesting what it said. And basically, the Republicans, and we showed this on the channel, Mitch McConnell said exactly that he doesn't want to raise any taxes. And a non starter for them is that they do not want to repeal the 2017 Trump tax cuts. Okay. And also, they don't want to raise any taxes. But what they would be willing to do, this is coming from the Republicans, because we know that President Biden wants to raise taxes to help pay for some of these packages. Namely, he wants to raise the corporate tax rate from 21 to 28%. And he has several different proposed tax increases on the what he calls the wealthy, or the 1% of Americans, including capital gains, higher taxes, and raising the tax rate, the top tax rate. But Republicans don't really want to raise taxes, and there's even some Democrats that don't want to raise taxes at all. But what Republicans said they are willing to do is what they call a use tax, USE, a use tax. And what this basically boils down to is that it could be a gas tax. So when you go buy gas, you're using it to drive on the roads, the highways, and the bridges, which is a big part of the infrastructure plan. So Republicans are saying they're not really willing to raise taxes, but they're willing to do some other type of tax raises, such as a use tax. But what's interesting there, and what kind of this opinion piece that I read that opened my eyes, is if Republicans are okay with that and they end up throwing that in the next package, well, that would go against what President Biden said, that he won't raise taxes on any families making less than $400,000. Well, if they have an added gas tax onto every gallon of gasoline, well, that would absolutely, definitely affect people making less than $400,000. Every time you go to get a gas or go to get a gallon of gas, I think it's 18.4 cents per gallon right now on gasoline, and it's like 26 cents for diesel is added on for federal taxes. Okay, and there's also state taxes, and each state can be different. But that actually hasn't been increased on the federal level in many, many years. But if they do that, if they do raise that tax, it would cost the average American some type of money, because they'd be paying more for gas every time they went to go get gas. So it's kind of an interesting catch 22. Republicans are saying they don't want to raise taxes, but they're willing to do a gas tax raise. But on the other hand, then that would catch 22 President Biden, because he said he doesn't want to raise taxes. He said there won't be any tax raises on anybody making less than $400,000 per year. But if they pass a gas tax raise, that would affect people making under $400,000 per year. So yeah, it's a sneaky little thing kind of going on right there. The Republicans saying that they're willing to do that, and not the other tax raises. Yeah, let me know your thoughts on that. Do you think President Biden will go for that? The other thing they're honestly really considering, we've actually seen this several times, been asked to President Biden and Jen Psaki and a couple of different things, is are they willing to just pass these next two packages with no tax raises? So remember, when we look back at the stimulus packages that have been passed already. 5 underneath former President Donald Trump. 2 of them had stimulus checks. The other 2 had other stimulus provisions like unemployment, paycheck protection program money, and money for vaccines. And 1 package passed under President Biden already, 6 packages. I always get the question, who's going to pay for this? Well, the reality of it is nobody paid for this. Okay, the government already runs a deficit. They already lose money. They spend more money than they take in every year. 99% of years. Okay, it's very rare that you'll see even a single year where they can not have a budget deficit, okay? Well, in addition to this, in addition to running a deficit, then they passed 6 stimulus packages within the course of like 12 months. Again, 5 underneath former President Trump, 1 underneath Biden so far. So who paid for that? Nobody. Nobody's going to pay for that because they didn't raise taxes to pay for that. And we already run a deficit. So if you put 2 and 2 together, nobody's going to pay for it. It's just going to go on the national deficit and it's going to sit there for eternity. And the national deficit grows every year, whether you like it or not. In all reality, it doesn't really affect the average everyday person. Inflation might, and that's kind of a different conversation. But the national deficit or the national budget deficit really doesn't affect people. But President Biden wants to raise taxes even before he came into office. He kind of campaigned on it, and it's just kind of something he wants to do. He wants corporations and the wealthy to, what he says, quote, pay their fair share. In fact, here is White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki on President Biden's kind of red lines or lines that he won't cross.
Structure, the president spent the last 10 days making very clear his view on the merits of the corporate tax increase, and the White House has rejected user fees as paid for. Bless you, Chris. The Republicans have made clear the 2017 tax law is a non-starter and are proposing user fees to pay for it. I don't understand what the deal space is here when their pay-fors are considered non-starters by you guys and your pay-fors are considered non-starters by theirs.
Well, this is a big week ahead, Phil. So big week for someone who covered Capitol Hill and is now covering the White House. Look, I think the president's red lines are inaction and are anything that would raise taxes on people making less than $400,000 a year. Those are not areas where he is going to move. He is quite open, as is evidenced by the fact that he invited Senator Capito and a group of members to meet with him in the White House later this week. He's very open to having a discussion about where we can find agreement, where we can move forward. And he has been encouraged by the spirit in which Senator Capito and other Republican colleagues are engaging with him. And he's hopeful that the meeting will be constructive. Now, you're right, and what you touched on, which is an interesting piece of this, is that the disagreement is really about the pay-fors. There is agreement about the need to modernize our infrastructure, about the need to do more to create jobs in the economy. And he's looking forward to hearing what additional ideas they may have.
One more quick one. I understand where you guys and the Fed are, that inflation right now is transitory if it pops,
Yeah.
to the degree that it does. You know, the jobs report kind of was a reminder that we don't necessarily have a roadmap for coming out of a once-in-a-century pandemic economically. Are you guys concerned about what would happen if you're wrong and it's not transitory and this ends up being an actual real problem in the weeks or months ahead when it comes to inflation?
Well, let me first say that our economic team watches this incredibly closely, including our Secretary of Treasury, who has an expansive background in watching inflation. And so we have confidence in both their assessments to date and also the fact that they will watch this as we continue to assess the state of our economy. I will say that, and the president will talk about this shortly, I should say, later this afternoon, that his view is that we've always believed that there would be ups and downs in our jobs reports. That is historically how it has gone. That there are a number of factors that contribute to it being a challenge for people to hire and people to rejoin the workforce. And there are steps we can take, and this is what he will talk about in his remarks as a government. We've obviously taken a number of those steps, including passing the American Rescue Plan, but there are a number of barriers to work. The biggest barriers we've seen: affordability of childcare, schools reopening, vaccinations is actually a huge factor. So when you dig into this data, which obviously we've done over the last couple of days, one interesting thing that struck the president as interesting is that the week of April 12th, which is the week that the data was compiled for the April jobs report was collected, at that point, only 18% of 18 to 64-year-olds were fully vaccinated. And as of May 9th, it's risen to 34%. And the 7-day moving average of positive COVID cases was 40% higher in mid-April than May 8th last week when the data was compiled for next month. So all I'm conveying is there are a range of factors. He'll talk about announcements on state and local funding, how that will be distributed, which will help keep police, firefighters, and others on the job. He'll talk about delivering assistance to restaurants, which is where we see major opportunity for employment or rehiring. He'll talk about providing guidance to childcare centers, which will help ensure that that funding gets out the door to cover child costs. He'll talk about the employee retention tax credit, which will hopefully help small and medium-sized businesses. But he also believes that there are steps businesses need to take, which he'll also talk about.
So yeah, really, there's, as you just heard her talk about, and a lot of those were programs that are passed and some that are coming out, passed from the third stimulus check package, as well as the fourth stimulus check package that is the next package, which is basically called the American Families Plan. There's a lot of different types of stimulus items that have already been passed and are going to be coming available here near soon, including that $350 billion going to states and cities, which we're going to see a lot more stimulus checks on the state level, like California's $600 stimulus check that the governor wants to send out to over 25 million people in California. That's just one example. All 50 states are going to be receiving new money. There's all these different plans and proposals in this next stimulus package, some of which we've already talked about: the fourth stimulus check, the Social Security raises, the Medicare raises, the free college. In fact, there's also two different proposals for a first-time home buyer grant to be possibly included in this next package. President Biden actually campaigned on this as well. There's one that's a $25,000 first-time homebuyer grant, and then there's another one that is a $15,000 tax credit included in the First-Time Homebuyer Act, they call it. And both of these have different qualifications. This one, the $25,000, is actually, you don't necessarily have to be a first-time home buyer. You can actually not have owned a home within the last 3 years. Each one has their own different criteria. The $25,000 one, you actually get the money at closing when you close for the home. So you would actually get $25,000 from the government. And this is not the first time we've had a first-time homebuyer grant, but this is one of the proposals that could be in the next package. And this would actually, you could actually use this money for your down payment money. There's another one that is a $15,000 tax credit, which likely would mean you'd get it back as a tax refund. So you wouldn't be able to use it at the time of closing, but nonetheless, it would be a $15,000 tax credit or a refund, $15,000 extra refund when you do your taxes for first-time home buyers. Again, first-time home buyers doesn't necessarily mean the first time ever. If you just haven't owned a home within the last few years, you can qualify for this. These two are two more additional items. I'll actually call it one item because it's basically a home buyer grant that they're discussing to be in this next package. Anywhere from $15,000 to $25,000 home buyer grant could be another stimulus item that it could be in this next package, which is called the American Families Plan. By the way, do you like my new movie prop here, the Wonka bar? Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. And yes, there just might be a golden ticket inside. Maybe there just might be. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below so you don't miss out on new videos. New videos come out every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We talk about different items in different videos, and we're going to be having a lot of programs come out that you may have to apply for or qualify for, just like the $50 free internet per month credit that we just talked about in recent videos. I'll link you to that here in a moment if you haven't applied for that yet. We've had thousands of people that got that. Basically $50 per month off your internet bill, and this is from the second stimulus check package and has now become available. So make sure to subscribe down below so you don't miss out on new videos. You can click this video here to watch my newest stimulus check video next. And this video is about the $50 per month internet credit, as well as 15 other stimulus packages or stimulus provisions that you can qualify for as well. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next video.